You just wait and see.
Thank you, Ireland. Yay. We are soaring. Thank you, honey. Thank you, Ward. Thank you, Ms. Ellen. Thank you, Chris. There you are for being our super duper grader this morning. What about the flowers? Oh, Dee brought the flowers this morning. Huh? What did I say, Chris? I'm not really here. I said I was present, but maybe I'm not quite present yet. Carol is grading this morning. Dee did give us gorgeous flowers there, and behind me, how beautiful are those? And you are here, and I am so grateful for your presence. We wish you every blessing this morning. The halt, the lame, the eyesight challenge, the arm challenge, the whoever's got a hip challenge, we're on it for you this morning. We've got all the Seahawks. I cannot speak about that. I'd like to speak about the Mariners. Yeah. I'm going to say accidentally caught or by divine appointment, caught the last half an hour of that game. Yeah, so I didn't see the part that wasn't working. I only saw the greatness of it all. Good morning, everyone online. Thank you for being here. We welcome you in the warm and loving spirit of unity. As we do each one in the sanctuary, thank you for being here. Thanks for bringing yourself. Thank you for bringing your other person. Thank you for bringing your inner person. Thank you for bringing your thoughts of people in your life who you would like to offer prayer for today. Thank you for opening your heart to be a blessing for others. We are here not just to receive blessing, but also to be a vehicle, a channel through which blessings may flow to all others. If you have a particular prayer request this morning, we invite you to fill out a prayer request form, leave it in the prayer box. If you are watching us online, fill out a prayer request through info@unitysv.org, and we will be delighted to pray with you. In every way, on a Sunday morning in Unity, we find some way to remind ourselves of why we're here. Marcus Bach wrote a short piece called "What is Unity?" It is the word of Christ made new again. It is the Spirit of Christ reborn again, the will of Christ revealed again, the mind of Christ restored again. It is the faith of the Christ renewed again, the law of Christ affirmed again, the love of Christ employed again, to help man and woman know himself or herself once again, the self that is one with God, the Christ, the divine nature of our being, the reality, the infinite truth of who we are, our oneness with God, our oneness with all life, the Christ not just endowed to or upon one person, but that with which we are all endowed, that radiant living Spirit of God. That's the Christ. What is unity? It's the word of that living truth of the presence of God within us, made new again. We renew ourselves in awareness and in remembering as we come together in worship, in service, in study. And so as we move into our service on this Sunday morning, the prayer is for world peace for our friends and loved ones, but also for the world in its entirety. Peace creates beauty in the world. Heather, would you share our daily word? You want to come around? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm being cool. Actually, actually, I had eye surgery this week, so excuse me. So that's why I'm here. World peace. Peace creates beauty in the world. An artist creates beauty out of a spectrum of shades and hues, and the diversity of color adds to the depth of the artwork. In this same manner, the differences in the world show the possibility of splendor when combined in the right way. I envision a world in which all people are accepted exactly as they are. And I set an intention to practice and facilitate goodwill towards others. I behold the world around me and find examples of people and cultures blending and mixing in magnificent ways. The potential for peaceful interaction and coexistence are endless. Acts of kindness, honesty, and healthy communication paint pictures of harmony. As I choose non-judgment and the unconditional positive regard, I create peace in the world. From Psalm 34:14. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Peace creates beauty in the world.
Thank you. Of course you did it. Of course she did it. Coffee is on this morning. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. We have a board meeting this week. It's on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. And Jerry will be hosting the meeting from Aji, Mexico. He said he actually has better internet service in Aji than he has at his house. So he's pretty excited to actually host our meeting for us as the president of our board. So Dee, I said thank you already for the flowers, but thank you, thank you, thank you. This one behind me, that is just, whew, that's beautiful, thank you. Steve Mason's going to do a concert for us. Steve Mason is one of our special Sunday morning musicians on Saturday the 12th at 6 o'clock in the evening. What did I say? That's pretty good. That's reasonably close to the whole statement. It's near the ballpark, so to speak. I might be like having gaps in here this morning. Saturday, November 12th, 6 p.m. There you go. Live in concert at Unity Skagit Valley, Steve Mason. So I don't know who pulled this off whatever site or if he sent it. Ellen, you did that? Thank you. If people want to know something more, they can go to Steve's site, which is www.steveseattle.com. Huh?
There seem to be some flyers over there on the rack.
Oh, cool. Yep. Take one. Flyers over there. Take a picture of one. I'm feeling a little incompetent suddenly. What day is it? And they said Mercury is out of retrograde. Is that true? That's what they said. I can't prove it myself. There's still a shadow of Mercury in retrograde. I saw somebody posted something that says, beware, Mercury is out of retrograde. You're now responsible for your own life once again. It's good, isn't it? It works. Anyway, board meeting on Tuesday morning, this coming Tuesday morning at 10. If you have anything for the board you'd like to submit, you can submit it to Jerry, actually, and he'll bring it to the board meeting. And other than that, in Steve's announcement, I don't think I have anything else that needs announcing. Anybody else have something they want to bring attention to? Yes, Lynn? The new daily words are in the house. Carrie, you're the person I look at when I hear the word daily word over there. You've got your set. Our daily words, we've been ordering 25 of them. We're cutting back on the number because we're not moving as many along as we once did. And so if you're wanting more than we have in the bin, we'll know then it's time to up our order once again. The process of healing is really timely. So as we move toward meditation, I think, do we have another song for it?
You're right on.
I'm right on? Thank you. Thank you.
I am so blessed.
I am so blessed. And let's focus on healing this morning in our prayer time. And let's sing, I am so blessed.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. You are so blessed. You are so blessed. You are so grateful for all that you have. You are so blessed. You are so blessed. You are so grateful. You are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful for all that we have. We are so blessed. We are so blessed. We are so grateful. We are so blessed.
We are so blessed. And even when it does not seem to be so, even when the road gets a little rugged, still we are so blessed. We are blessed by the unlimited, infinite, eternal power of life itself, present in and through all that is, present in and through all that was, present in and through all that will be. That presence of life is an unstoppable force, the living forth of the perfection of the One, from whom we are created and in whom we live and move and have our being. Loving Spirit, as we pray in the consciousness of life, we know that the presence of love is moving mightily in the midst of anyone who seeks healing or seeks the light or seeks any form of uplifting, or even the ones who do not know to seek a higher way. We see your love filling and surrounding each one, knowing before there is a request, the need, the desire, the calling of all of life, the presence of light. Divine wisdom floods every mind and every heart and is the infinite intelligence at work in and through all things, in and through all times. An infinite intelligence that knows what we do not yet know, understands that which remains unseen, that infinite inspiration and wisdom present in every blade of grass, in every element of life, in all its expressions. And so it is that presence of life is the infinite intelligence in the midst of each of us. An infinite intelligence programmed with perfection and wholeness, always moving us on the path of perfect and right order. As we breathe, we give thanks for all the orderly workings of our bodies and minds. And for all of those things that might seem to be out of order, we raise them in our minds and in our hearts. I immerse myself now in the presence of pure life, the infinite ocean of life, a life force that cannot, even as we pass beyond this place, be stopped or limited. We are filled with eternal life, and the light that flows through that life illuminates anything in our being that might be in disorder. Any place in our body, or in our mind, or in our emotions, or in our hearts, that feels as though it is separate from the life and the light. I actually move into those areas of my body, and with my inner realization, I remind those aspects of my body that every part of me is whole, that there is wholeness present here, that the healing peace and life of the Spirit is at work right there in the midst of that seeming disorder is perfect order, and we call it forth, whether it's into a back or a hip or an arm or an eye or a place in our heart that feels out of sorts or in pain. I fill that place with my awareness of the infinite life and love of the Spirit, filling and overflowing, filling and weaving and mending and overflowing. I see a great light moving through any area of my being or life that seems to be in chaos, or any place where there is pain. I see that light. It might be in color. It might be in the awareness of a brilliance of a light suddenly penetrating the heart, the mind, the thought, the ache. And the area begins to respond to the guidance of my awareness as I touched into it and allow the warmth and the love to rise up from inside out. That life flow might be unencumbered and present. I let it rise through all areas of my being. By rising, I mean from the center of my being moving outward into my fingers and toes and into not just the working organs of the body, but into the muscles and tissues and cells, that radiant life, that radiant healing life. Feel it as radiance. Feel yourself immersed in it. Allow yourself to let go any anxiety. The anxiety that encapsulates that discomfort, suppresses the flow. Let go. When Jesus said, "Your faith has made you well," what he meant was your inner knowing that you are an indestructible life force sent forth from the radiant Spirit of God in perfection and wholeness. To the place in the back, to the place in the hip, to the place in the arm, we say, this is perfect, this is whole, this is God in unlimited expression. To the worried thought or the concern for something that will be or could be or might be or whatever the case might be. You say, I send forth my faith and knowing that all things are moving in perfection and perfect order. And I embrace my body. as I let go of the anxiety or any need to hold on. I embrace my body with light, my mind with that pure, radiant wisdom, my heart with the purity of perfect love. I am whole, for I am one with the creative force and life of the universe. The perfection of the one is at work within and without, and in the midst of all things. In faith believing, in grace accepting, with gratitude in my heart. I allow the knowing that all is well to be present now. And so it is. Amen.
Okay, I know after that this might be a bit much. I need some backup singers. So your guys' part is going to be ooh ba ba ba. And trust me, you've heard this song before. I believe in you. We're going to try it a few times before we start the song. Your guys' part. Ooh ba ba ba. Ooh ba ba ba. All right, that's pretty good. We're going to do it one more time. Ooh ba ba ba. Ooh ba ba ba. Declare paradise. Put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They pay paradise and put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba ba ba. Ooh, ba ba ba. They took all the trees and put them in a tree museum. And they charged all the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba ba ba. Ooh, ba ba ba. Hey, farmer, farmer, put away that DDT now. Leave the spots on the apples, leave me the birds and the bees, please. Don't it always seem to go? You don't know what you got till it's gone. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba ba ba. Ooh, ba ba ba. Late last night, I heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba ba ba. Ooh, ba ba. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Hey, 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 they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yay, you. Joni Mitchell died and was resurrected in about 20 minutes the other day. If you don't know the story, big article. Joni Mitchell died. No, hold on. Hold on. She was resurrected in about 20 minutes. They mistakenly published her obituary and the notice of her death widely across the internet, and it was not true. She is her same rambunctious 78-year-old self. And of course, the magazine that released the information in error couldn't give a date or a time or a circumstance that caused this thing, but what I saw in it was the whole process of the way life works. You don't know. You don't know. I wonder if she picked up the news and saw she was dead that day. I mean, was she the one who read the news like I did? 7 o'clock in the morning, a couple days ago? What did she say, I wonder? Huh? Am I dead? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't feel dead. No. Well, she apparently had been part of creating it when it was generated, but you know, it had a lot of history to it and all the wonderful things she's done. And here we are singing her song in tribute this morning. So you just never know when somebody's going to say something about you that isn't true. Somebody's story goes round and round, and suddenly we buy into it and we think it's our story. Or somebody says something on the news or out in the world, and it goes round and round and round, and suddenly it becomes a truth, but it's not true because it's somebody's story. All the stories we tell have evidence of some truth in them, but not necessarily in relationship to what we're projecting them on. There are a lot of stories right now, a lot of stories. Somebody out there said, this is a true story. You should be very afraid. It's coming. It's breathing down your neck. Hold your breath. It's coming. Yeah, but do we believe what somebody's story is, or do we continue to follow what we believe to be true? And sometimes what we believe to be true is also false, not in the face of the reality of who we are or how life works in a larger context than the small view we're holding in this moment in time. But we take it on like it's our story now, and then we prepare ourselves, you know, dig the bunker a little deeper and get yourself wrapped up in a little more fear about this or that or something. It could be what the doctor says. It could be what your neighbor says. It could be what the man on TV says. It could be what you read in the paper. It could be what's coming from any direction at any given time. We're all dealing with our best guess, perhaps, given the perception we hold, which is always looking in that direction for one reason or another. And then as it emerges, we give evidence to, oh, it was the truth, you see? Oh, it was the truth. Well, if we're going to be super students continuing the path of our growth, we would always want to be questioning everything about, is it the truth in terms of someone's voice or a projection into the future? Or is it the truth in accord with something that serves something that we have no hand in? Or is it the truth that serves that deeper understanding that we live and move and have our being in this infinite, relentless, creative energy of spirit. Who's going to predict what spirit is arising in this moment in time? Who's going to predict it except in faith, creating a context of knowing? Who knows what happens when the door opens and when it closes? Where is it we go to take in the information about what God is doing today in us, in our life, in the unfolding of the experience of our life in this moment in time? We don't know. Why? Because we're so busy focusing on the projections, on the ideas, on the things we're being filled with. And we begin to create our reality around those thoughts, those limitations. They may be true. It may be true. On the other hand, it may be true only in accord with a limited perspective, because all projection and all of that future distant projecting of energy is all based on an unknowing. But what we give our attention to becomes what we say we know. And that becomes what we live out of, and that becomes the way in which we meet the moments of our lives. We don't ever really know what's being unveiled in any given moment in time. So where is it that we can go in ourselves to discover what we want to ground ourselves in? What can matter here in the rising and the falling of all these things, in the unveiling and in the veiling of what the external world presents to us, and what the inner world is aligned with or attuned to. And the direction that I take is in accord with what gets my attention and my power, my creative power, my ability to choose. So this issue of belonging is a very interesting issue to consider from a spiritual perspective. Because from earliest childhood, most of us had a sense that we did not belong. My friend Martha said, I was about 2 years old when I looked up at all the people in the room and went, I'm the oldest person here. What am I supposed to do now? 2, probably younger, but without verbalization of that. Belonging. When did you feel that deepest sense of belonging in your life? Or are you, as is most of the human beings on the planet, living in that state of, I don't belong, I don't match up, I'm not like others, I'm not the same as the person next to me? And that means I have to find people who are like me to see if I can find a tribe where I fit, or a person where I fit, or something that gives me fitting, belonging. And that's frequently why we spiritually study together. But even there's that sense that someone's higher, someone's lower, somebody is more advanced, somebody knows something you don't know, you're not getting it, it's not. So belonging to what tribe, to what group, to what gives you a sense of, one of these days I'm going to find something that's going to give me that sense that I belong here. Brené Brown said, belonging is our primary human need. Beyond food and shelter, nothing promotes human flourishing like having a people and a place of belonging. Research confirms that income level, marriage and children, and perceived security all pale in comparison to belonging in promoting sustained happiness. We long to belong. In 2017, she wrote the book Braving the Wilderness. She was writing about loneliness. She defined belonging as the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. Because this yearning is so primal, she said, we often try to acquire it by fitting in, by seeking approval, which are hollow substitutes for belonging and often barriers to it. She continues, true belonging is not something we achieve or accomplish with others. It's something we carry in our heart. Once we belong thoroughly to ourselves and believe thoroughly in ourselves, true belonging is ours. There will be many times when we don't fit in and when we'll be alone in the wilderness, and yet still belong there. I truly get this. I truly get this teaching. I think I do. Maybe tomorrow I won't, but today I was getting it deeply. Am I in or am I out? Am I still looking for a place? Did I make the cut? Am I good enough? She said, we spend all our time either auditioning for others' approval, hoping we'll be included, or pretending to care whether we're in or out, pretending not to care whether we're in or out. And teenagers in our world today struggle with this in such a graphic and present way. But we all do, but it's at that point that being in or out and the reinforced system of are you in or are you out? Do you belong? Do you have place? Can you be companioned by others with others? It is brutal. It is just absolutely brutal. But it's no less brutal in us as we continue to deny our own sense of belonging, both spiritually belonging, I'm not talking about in the large spectrum now, belonging, like a feeling of I exist, I am, therefore I belong. That stand, I am here, I exist, I am, and by virtue of I am, I belong. There's nowhere I don't belong, except in the areas and arenas where I hold myself outside the circle, or hold myself outside belonging because I care too much what others think. I care too much what others value. I care too much about what others think or see to be so. And as I stand in the present moment with self, what tends to happen is we will take our position, if you will, in truth, but at the same time deny ourselves. It happens all in the same spectrum of the moment. You'll stand for yourself, and then that feeling of being separate somehow begins to push its way in and divide your consciousness into, I need to stand for what I believe, and at the same time, this sense of to do that perhaps takes me out of the presence of others, takes me out of relationship with people that are part of my life or my world, or people that I know. Somebody was telling me they were going east of the mountains to be with family, and that every experience with family was, quote unquote, a nightmare, and the words again, I have never belonged. I've always been different. What we don't see is probably everybody at the table is feeling exactly the same thing. I've never fit. I don't belong. It's endemic in human nature to have the sense that we are separate from Creator and therefore unique. We are unique in many ways, but we're not the only one who feels that way. Everyone else is feeling the same thing at the same time. We fight for identity. We fight for our right to have our own thoughts or our own path or our own understanding. And in the course of that, we discover that we divide and segment things as though in the moment that I'm seeing it in myself, I am witnessing this galactic event, if you will, where almost everyone else I see is feeling the same way in the same moment. Why? Because the moment we feel ourselves to be separate from Creator, the moment we feel ourselves to be separate from our divine home, from then on, no matter where or what, we feel like we don't belong. And we look for it in 1,000 different ways. And it creates tremendous suffering, never to have been told, by virtue of breath. You are infinitely and unfailingly centered in the whole cosmic unfolding. It is impossible for life to be life without you in it. The uniquely wondrous way you're made and created. It is impossible for life to be life without you in it. Why? Because it wouldn't be whole. If you were outside it, separate from it, apart from it, it couldn't be whole. I don't say this to divide you from all of the other species on the planet, including human. I say this to affirm that so many things that occur every day, so many words we hear, so many thoughts we absorb, so much we take in, divides us more and more deeply from the one thing we most want, the longing for belonging. And belonging, then, we have a list of things that define what belonging means. You know, to belong means you see me in a particular way, you understand me, you relate to me, you include me, you love me, you cherish and adore. That belonging comes with this list of human characteristics that we assign to it, rather than I belong because I belong. And nothing can ever take that. Uniquely made, wondrously made, divinely created. Nothing can take that away. You can take away one of these and replace it with one of those, and it didn't change the nature of your wholeness and belonging. But suddenly the mind says, I'm less than the whole. I'm separate from my source. I'm separate from my good. And there's a part of us that thinks we can't get to that. Like it would require some super spirit hit to give us that gift of knowing that we don't feel it, and therefore, we wish we did, but we don't. And the mind is wired to believe that there would have to be some super spirit thing that hits us that would show us for once and for all that's true. We could just say, I belong because I belong. I belong because I could not belong. And belonging means I have my own ideas, I have my own thoughts, I have my own way of seeing, I have my own way of experiencing the world. But by virtue of being, I am divine, and in my divinity, I am whole. I could say it for 1,000 years, over and over and over again, but until I can hear it in my own heart and really own that to be true, I belong because I belong. There's no place and no condition and no past that could keep me from that. If we could just give that to people who are in pain and who live so far outside the sense of knowing that they belong, and if we could see with different eyes the belonging of others and their own way of being and uniqueness and strangeness and weirdness and faith and not faith and darkness and light, that belonging is the nature of being. By virtue of being. And I'm not even talking about birth. We were being before we were birthed in this life experience. By virtue of being that which you are and that which you eternally are in the unfolding of this experience called life and wholeness, you can't not be. You can't not be. The whole couldn't be the whole without you in it. And I don't mean the whole like the one you fall in. Wholeness could not be wholeness. We could not describe that spirit source is wholeness and ever unfolding perfection in expression without you as an integral part of it. Like, I don't care what you think about yourself. The universe thinks you're great. You couldn't be here. You couldn't have been born. Your parents couldn't have got you here. So in the moment when we think, I don't have belonging, or I shouldn't be here, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not something, the missing piece is only the piece about being content with who you really are. Becoming content to be that which you are in totally beyond value way that you live and move and have being. And it's always been so, and I'm not the one who can convince you of that. My longtime friend, Victoria Castle, made her transition a few months ago. And she wrote a book that's one of the greatest books on prosperity I have ever seen. For me, there are other books that are excellent prosperity books, but Victoria wrote this book called The Trance of Scarcity. And an instructive, encouraging, and delightful book, and the subtitle is Stop Holding Your Breath and Start Living Your Life. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? But she uses the analogy of the circle, and I think about it a lot. And the analogy of the circle is, imagine you stepped out into this vast field and there was a huge circle of other beings in the circle. You are part of this vast circle. She would call the circle flow. She would call the circle the circle life. She would call the circle the free movement of the creative power and process of life itself, available to all. And she said it's innate that you're part of the circle until you make a decision to step out. And that stepping out of the circle is generally an issue. I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I don't deserve, I'm somehow in a state of negative limitation. And she said, right then you step out. But she said, your place is always held. You can always step back in. But you have to realize that when you step out, you begin to obstruct the flow. You begin to obstruct the ability to trust and be safe in this constant flow. Not because things don't happen, but because the safety of being in the flow is so much better than standing outside the circle in fear, in limitation, in that unbridged reality into I am at one and I belong in this life force of perpetual flow, and all that is part of it. And she includes health and well-being and relationships and all other things. I belong because I belong. You can slam the door and tell me I can never come there, but you can't affect my belonging. I am part of the circle. We can be in states where things seem to be very divided and separate, but we're not giving up that we belong as we are, who we are in this moment in time. So we go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you've got XYZ. And we've got XYZs here in this body and in this room and wherever we go, somebody's got an X, a Y, or a Z. And they're so powerful. The voice is so powerful. The influence of that is so powerful. And we demonstrate again that sense of who has authority. Who has authority. In the ancient times, in the tribal times, and not so long ago in the here and now times, to be in tribe was to always be living conditionally, to be in particular religious systems, always conditional. To be in particular family systems, it's always conditional. You could be deemed unbelonging or outside. And then we choose resentment or the victim, or we gather up all this energy and we fight and carry on in ourselves about, we become restless about carving our own way, and then we find other ways, and then we find other ways, we find other ways. And the moment we have let life own us in the belief that we are not enough, it doesn't mean we don't have work to do. It doesn't mean we're not mucked up in our mind periodically or in the way we're seeing or thinking about things. It means when I claim my belonging, I know that the resource is available to me to support me in unscrambling where I find myself or in the midst of whatever's going on. And nobody can say that I will be unseen or cast into unbelonging. It's not, I won't take it. I can dish it out to myself, but I won't take it from the world, which is very interesting. I can be my own worst unbelonging. But I no longer stand in the world believing the things I used to believe in, even when I have doubt about that. When I can reclaim that place in me, Enough is that which I am. Sufficient is that which is true. Abundant in possibility, limitless possibility, is the nature of my being. Why? Because if it's true at all, it's true here. Totally and fully. Just as I am. Spirit doesn't say, just as you will be. And I say that lightly, but that's a huge statement. Spirit really doesn't declare just as you will be. So in the tribal tradition, the beings were still present, the people were still present. It's just everyone else was trained not to see them. Because to see them or to admit that you saw that person who'd been banned meant that you too would be banned. Therefore, we will pretend that we don't see you is part of this whole normative process that we've come up under. Not only do I not see me, now I'm not going to see you either. But when I know belonging is my nature, and I can begin to abide in that, and maybe it's the privilege of age that gives even more of that. Little ones belong. They'll tell you so. They're still proving it. But maybe we're in a grace period where believing that we are seen and we belong by virtue of being, we are whole and complete, and that is unchangeable. Maybe struggling, maybe wondering, maybe suffering. The time of the lockdown was has been a real testing ground for us about the issue of belonging. And there's a whole lot more to say about that. But I want to find this piece. There's a book written called Belonging by a woman named Toko, T-O-K-O, Pa, Toko-Pa, P-A, Turner, called Belonging. And this is what she writes. For the rebels and the misfits, the black sheep and the outsiders, for the refugees, the orphans, the scapegoats, and the weirdos, for the uprooted, the abandoned, the shunned, and the invisible ones. May you recognize with increasing vividness that you know what you know. How beautiful. May you, all of you who think you're outside, may you recognize with increasing vividness that you know what you know. May you give up your allegiances to self-doubt, meekness, and hesitation. May you be willing to be unlikable. Some people really push that, don't they? May you be willing to be unlikable and in the process be utterly loved. May you be impervious to the wrongful projections of others, and may you deliver your disagreements with precision and grace. May you see with the consummate clarity of nature moving through you that your voice is not only necessary but desperately needed to sing us out of this muddle. May you feel shored up, supported, entwined, and reassured as you offer yourself and your gifts to the world. And may you know for certain that even as you stand by yourself, you are never alone. Beautiful. I belong because I belong. I am here and present in this moment because I belong here in this moment. You can tell me I don't belong. You can tell me I don't fit. You can tell me I should be different than I am, but I belong because I belong. And I belong because this is the way I have come forth into the world as an act of creation by the infinite presence and power and great Creator. I do not apologize for who I am. Occasionally I apologize for what I do or what I say, and sometimes even for what I think. But I belong because I belong, and in that I will stand firm. I belong and I am stronger than the condition I face, because I am one with that which is ever present as me. I will not give over to the presence of fear as my identity, but I will come into the realization that I belong as I am because I belong. And ever it shall be so, and as we grow and as we change, each time we move into a little different state of realization. We shift a little more and we say, oh, I belong. I belong. And I'm right on course. Let's give our tithes and our love offering, shall we? Sam, our handy-dandy usher on duty. Thank you, Sam. So let's do our blessing. I give joyfully and easily, for God is my source, and abundance is my nature. And so it is. Thank you for your gifts. You wanna? It won't take long, but it's a powerful experience. Yeah. Had to be you. Had to be you. Had to be you. Think that as you go out into the world, it's like you feel that something come up and you go, oh, it had to be you. I mean, no, I'm not kidding. Like, give it out. Oh, you, the one that just did whatever that was on the road. Oh, it had to be you. Huh. Yeah, like, yeah, it had to be you. Huh. Well, isn't it good we're not all the same? There would need to be any more than one of us, and there isn't actually any more than one of us in a multitude of forms. Thank you for being here. Thank you for blessing this place, this ministry with your presence, with your gifts, with your love, with your grandchild. Thank you for bringing her. And thank you. Not always easy, but ever perfect, Missy. Thank you, Ward. Ellen, thanks. And yay, yeah. For those of you online, without the Ellen and the Jerry and the Ethan and the Sam and whoever makes that happen in the back of the room, whoever wanders in and makes that happen, you wouldn't be seeing or hearing a thing out there. You'd actually have to come in here, which would be a good thing too. Yeah, that'd be good. Prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's sing our peace song.